So everybody watching this right now, if you guys are wondering why it's really dark, it's because it's after 9 o'clock at night. And the reason why we're doing this chat after 9 o'clock at night is because I asked for it since I was watching Love is Blind season 6.
Actually?
Yeah, I'm not joking. I'm serious. It's my
That's
guilty
Oh
funny.
my
pleasure. I
goodness.
love that show. So I just finished
Mm.
binging the last 2 episodes that came out today. Yeah, and there's no way I was going to skip on that. Not that I don't love talking to you guys, but like, priorities.
That's
Oh my
hilarious.
goodness. I haven't watched the new season yet, so I'll have to see.
Ooh, it's
I know
spicy.
I know
Yeah.
Chris, our bass player, said he watches it too. So
Yeah. I'm gonna save it for tour. That's what I'm gonna watch on tour. I like save all the episodes on Netflix and then I watch them through tour.
Yeah, there's still the finale to come. I mean, probably by the time I post this video, the finale is out already. But anyways, as of right now, the finale is still due, and then the reunion, the tell all, which is always like
Mm.
super spicy.
Yeah. The extra drama.
Yeah, so I just wanted to explain to you guys and to the folks watching. That's the reason why I asked for such a late slot because like I said, priorities. But anyways, we're here to talk about Chasing Euphoria, out March 15th
Yeah.
on Reigning Phoenix Music. Uh, how are you guys doing in terms of chasing your own euphoria? Is this album taking you guys one step closer?
maybe hopefully, that would be awesome. We're pretty proud of this album and how it turned out. So hopefully this is the thing that will get us to one step closer.
Yeah, I mean, we've been trying our best, so I mean, that's all we can do. But yeah, hopefully, it gets our name out there a little bit more.
Yeah,
Hey, I know I've mentioned this before, but I'll mention it again. I honestly think if this album, this is the Juno right here.
I hope so.
That would be
I,
That
I'm
we
I'm 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 preaching. I've been preaching to whoever wants to hear me. I think this album, it's not just a step forward. This is a huge leap from the debut record. Like when you look at the growth that you guys have put together and the way this album comes across, it just feels like, I know this is so cliche, but it feels like a more mature record.
Thank you. Well, I mean, we're gonna be in the running with Unleash the Archers, so I don't know.
Oh, they've been getting some
We'll
hate
see.
because of the whole artificial intelligence thing, so maybe that will steal some votes away from them. But you never know. You never know. We'll never know. So this album comes out on a major label. I know you guys were super excited to sign with a major label. Has that have already? Do you guys see already an impact of that, or is that something that you're hoping that the impact will come after the album gets released?
we definitely feel like we've already reached a big audience that I'm not sure if we would have been able to do it on our own yet. So that's good that, we got one step a little further. But I do believe that once the album comes out, that's when we're really gonna see the huge difference.
I think so too. Because like right now it's hard to tell. Because I feel like everyone's almost like waiting for it to drop,
Yeah,
to like push things further. So yeah, I think we'll see a lot of the difference then. And maybe once we get out on the road too, we'll see more of the impact,
pretty much. Yeah.
You guys released a lot of videos in support of this record. Was that your plan? Is that the labels doing? Like, who was the mastermind behind all of these singles, all of these music videos? It felt like that was one a week.
That
Not
was
that I'm
that was
complaining.
all. It was all us. It was our decision to do that many videos because, nowadays people just they need,
visual.
colorful puppets to keep them
Yeah. Colorful puppet. Yeah.
to keep them interested, right? So we're like, we got to do, as many music videos as we can.
Yeah.
So that's why we decided to go that route.
Like I mentioned before, this is a more mature album, and I think one of the ways you can tell is by the overall design of the record. The other record had a good design, but felt very piecework. Like the songs felt a little bit segregated from one another. This album has a little bit of not a little bit, has a lot more of a sequence in terms of you pressing play on the first song and not really getting a chance to stop until the record is over. There's more of a sense of continuity. The listener feels more engaged with the record all the way through. Is this something that you guys thought about coming into the record, that you had to create perhaps an album that overall felt more together?
I think this time around, especially because we wrote pretty much the whole album together, as opposed to High Right, where we did, someone came with like a lot of the ideas and someone else came with other ideas. This time we kind of, especially like me and Corey, our drummer, we locked ourselves in the jam space and we're writing and we're trying to think of, you know, this is good, but we need a transition for this part. We need to make it more cohesive and stuff. And we definitely kept like, we look for that detail more this time around as opposed to before. Definitely matured as people.
Yeah, I think the fact that we wrote it on like such a small amount of time made it consistent too. So like High Wraith, I feel like the songs were written in like such a distance apart. So like these were more consistent because they were closer together and we're kind of like in the same frame of mind, I guess.
Yeah, like we pretty much wrote this whole album in about 2.5 months. There was some ideas from before, but that's kind of when we wrote this album in such a little time frame, and then we had 2 months to record it, and we're like, we want to get it out because we were doing the Ailstorm tour, so we're like, we got to try and finish it before we do that tour. So I think, like you said, that's probably a reason as to why it's more cohesive.
Yeah.
You mentioned Corey. Obviously, he's new to the process of working on a new record with you guys, but he comes with a lot of experience. I was going to say baggage, but it's more experience than it's more experience than baggage. How did that help you guys to have somebody like that has that experience that can really come in and help, perhaps, you know, not guide you guys, but be a little bit of a sounding board in terms of what might work versus what may not work?
I think that's exactly it, like what you just said, because he had already had a good amount of touring experience and experience just in like the scene in general. So I mean, he could be like to us, like, we did this like with the Crimson Shadows or whatever, don't do that. Don't follow that mistake.
Yeah.
Like, I think we just kind of learned from his mistakes or his things that weren't mistakes, things that worked for him, right? So
especially with the writing as well.
Yes, exactly.
But like, you know, let's focus on the transitions. And that was his big thing, is making sure the transitions are good and cohesive. So that pushed us.
Yeah, for sure. I think like he pays attention to a lot of detail too when writing, where like you're like very fast paced.
Yeah.
And you're like, let's get it done. Whereas he's like, okay, chill. Let's like focus on this and that and that.
Yeah. It's weird coming from a drummer.
I know. Well, like, but I mean that's why you guys work so well together.
Yeah, exactly.
Too, right? Yeah.
You guys are the yin and the yang.
Yep.
That's great. That's great. What about touring? Because obviously, coming into this record, there's a lot more touring experience than going into the previous record. How much did that touring, and not only the touring, but the bands you're touring with, how much has that shaped the band, sound-wise, creatively? How much impact has it had?
A huge impact. I think like, I feel like almost more in like our confidence, because like going out there, especially on the Ailstorm tour and doing that finally, it was almost like okay, that's what it's gonna be like. Because I think it's in like our minds, it was always like, okay, what is touring gonna be like for that long? And like, are we gonna like it?
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's so many people who are like building up to those moments, and then they get on the road and they don't like it, you know, or they're like, it's too much for me or whatever. But I mean, I feel like having that under our belt and be like, okay, this is something we absolutely love. It was almost like a breath of fresh air.
And we definitely learned a lot of things from that tour.
Yeah, just watching them perform and the way everything's set up and kind of the do's and don'ts of just daily tasks was really cool to see too, even down to merch.
Yeah, exactly.
We learned a lot like from the merch guy of like do's and don'ts, basically, or like little tricks here and there. And you guys setting up every day all the instruments and everything, you got to watch their crew and see how that all works too. And then
learning experience.
There's a lot to learn.
I saw you guys at we chatted. I saw you guys at the show that you played in Toronto with Unleash the Archers, and I had seen you guys play previously. The things that I have to say, because I haven't talked to you guys since. I mean, I saw you before the show. I haven't talked to you since the show. The thing that I was really blown away by you guys with that performance is that it's not always easy to go from playing smaller venues to playing at a bigger venue, where you have a lot more room to move around. There's a bigger crowd. There's a lot more things to consider. And you guys look to me like you have been playing those kind of venues to that kind of capacity all of your lives. It was like so comfortable, all of you, so comfortable on stage, so comfortable with what you guys are doing. It really showed me how much you guys have grown as a band, but in a very organic and natural way. Do you look back and also see the same growth that I see in terms of your impact as your stage presence?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like when it comes to a bigger stage, we definitely are more comfortable on a bigger stage because we move around a lot and it's easier for us because like we're not hitting each other in the face with our instruments or
Yeah,
anything.
exactly.
But yeah, definitely. I think once again the Ailstorm tour was a huge impact on that.
And then the one thing that we've always said since we started as a band was, you may come out and you may see us and you may not like our music, but we want to
You're
impress.
gonna like the show.
You're gonna like the show. We want to impress you with our
Yeah.
show, even if you don't like the music. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what we've always tried to achieve since
Well,
the beginning.
You're paying to see a show, right? Otherwise, go home and listen to the record at home. Like.
I I hope the guys from Unleash the Archers are not going to watch this interview, because I'm going to say that you guys were my favorite band on the night, and I'm not alone.
Thank you.
There was a few people around me that felt the same way. Like
Wow.
the energy that you guys had, it was like, holy shit, we could get some more of this. It was contagious. It was very energetic. It really had us in it. Like it was there was this nice symbiosis between you guys and the audience. There was a really cool energy on the night. So you guys blew me away. It was a great performance.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's really cool to hear.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you come into a record, you know what you want, but you not necessarily know what you don't want. Did you guys know what you didn't want this album to be sound-wise?
That's a good question.
I know. I think my biggest thing was more attention to detail and more more detail, more like just paying attention to every little piece of the writing. I feel like with High Writhe, it was our first album, like our first full-length album, and we didn't really pay as close detail as we did with Chasing Euphoria. So that was basically my only thing.
I'm not sure about the things that we didn't want, but I know the thing that we did want is catchiness. We wanted to make sure that the choruses are as catchy as they can be, and that people can sing along, and you know what I mean?
That's always my main thing.
Yeah.
Is a catchy chorus has to have a hook every time.
And the other thing I noticed about this record is that we talked about the debut album being, different ideas, different people bringing in different material over a long period of time, which creates the diversity of the album. Now, having said that, for as cohesive as this album is and balanced, it's still very diverse. I mean, there's still a lot of influences. When I'm listening to this record, it's not like the sound of the first song is the same sound of the second song, third, fourth, and fifth. There's a lot of ebbs and flows from track to track, but somehow the album still stays together. Is that the connections that you were talking before, making sure that the tracks flow one to the other, that allows you to have still that diversity, but balance out the record on the other hand?
I'm not sure. I think the thing is we still like to not have the same song 10 times, So we try to keep it as unique as possible, but we also try to keep it more cohesive. I think the only song on this album that's a little bit different is Born to Ride. It's more fun, anthemic song, but other than that, we try to keep it pretty consistent.
Yeah, it's funny because when we're writing, we're not writing with a bigger picture in mind. We're literally just writing and hoping that everything comes together. But I think because once again, it was all in the same time frame that we wrote it, it all just kind of ended up working out. But we kind of just go with our gut with writing. We have no rhyme or reason. We kind of all just throw things into the pot and just see how everything flows. So yeah, it's hard to say.
Yeah.
It just kind of magically comes together.
Yeah, that's it.
Like some tracks have that catchy, hooky, almost power metal style choruses, and then some songs don't have that. They have more of a melodic, folky death metal style choruses, but still hooky. So it's like there's different ingredients but
Mhm.
the kind of end recipe turns out to be the same because you still get that hookiness and catchiness. And I thought that was a creative way to infuse some diversity into the album, but not allow the album to be very chaotic, if you will.
I think that's just a formula that we've developed over time and how
Yeah.
we kind of go about writing a song. And I guess we're starting to find our sound more.
Yeah, I think this was like a huge step in the right direction
Mhm.
of like kind of solidifying what we had or have now, you know.
Yeah.
So
You, you
yeah.
said you said a couple of words there that are really important, which is finding your sound. Are you
Mhm.
closer to finding your sound? Have you found your sound yet, or is that something that perhaps will never happen?
I don't like, so I think we have the formula. It's there, but I don't think there's gonna be like an end game to our sound where it's just like we stop and we're like, oh, we figured it out. We're just gonna keep writing like this,
Yeah,
you know?
I think like musicians, like they usually grow and stuff,
Mhm.
right? So for like the formula does change a little bit.
Mhm.
So not like usually most records don't sound the same with like, well, I mean, there's some bands that they do,
There's a lot of
but
bands that all their
but not
songs
not
sound the
every,
same.
like eventually like bands grow. Like for
Yeah,
example, like a Metallica, right? They don't sound the same as they did back in the day.
this is
So
true. I
I,
think we're gonna have more ebb and flow when it comes to that though, just because we get so bored musically and like we have musical ADHD in a sense. Like, and we all have such different influences. We come from like so many different musical backgrounds, so it kind of makes it easy to just kind of, I don't know, have this diverse sound.
What about vocally? How was this record for you vocally?
It was a challenge. I really pushed myself vocally in this one. Not like, mostly because I was singing basically in every technique and range that I have. This is the first time that I experimented with like softer singing because I've always kind of shied away from that because I was like, oh, people are gonna be like, it's not heavy, blah blah blah. But I was like, screw that. I kind of just like threw all the like stereotypes out the window with this because there was so many times where there's like heavy music and I'm writing like a pop chorus over top of it, you know? So I was just kind of like, well, whatever feels cool and different. And um I also like to mix heavy and like fun and poppy things together because I think it's, I don't know, it's unique and it's me, and it's like my mixture of sound. It's what I like. I like heavy music and I like softer music, so I
yeah.
don't know.
What about when it comes to the clean or harsh vocals for you? Which side of your range, having those two as the polar opposites of one another, which side of that range do you feel like you have to work more at in order to get to where you want to be?
It really depends because when it comes to like a softer tone in my clean voice, I definitely need to work on that more because I haven't really developed it as much as like my belting or like falsettos. But when it comes to screaming, I feel like there's like no end to learning how to scream. Like there's so many different like tones you can get in your voice and you can build more power and experiment with so many different techniques. So it's hard to say because they're both like so open-ended.
Do you have sorry, Victor, we're putting you aside for a
That's
quick.
okay. That's all right.
No, okay.
I'm just
We'll come. I promise I'll come back to you. Do you have someone that you look up to, like as a huge influence as far as your vocal performance is concerned?
I feel like I change that all the time. Like as far as screaming goes, my biggest influence going into screaming was Angela Gosso. She's the one that like made it all possible in a sense for me. But as far as any, I don't know, like recent, it's like it fluctuates so much.
Alexi.
Alexi, yes, from Children of Bodom. When I started to fry scream, him and Randy Blythe were like a huge influence on me in like trying to get that technique down. Um, but yeah, it's all over the place. And clean singing, it's definitely all over the place. I like my favorite vocalist is a blues singer, so yeah.
What about you, Victor? Not singing, but your guitar playing. Who's your biggest influence?
I would say Alexi from Chiller Bottom is definitely my biggest influence, and there's a lot of Alexi inspired riffs and stuff on this album.
Yeah, we were talking about this the other day because like people compare us to Arch Enemy all the time, and we're like, yeah, that's like our biggest influence. And then we're looking back and we're like, no, there's so much
Yeah.
Bodum influence in everything we do, the vocals, the guitars, everything, and especially this new album. There's so many different parts where like that is a Bodum riff.
And even some of the orchestration that
Yeah.
Elliot did was Bodum inspired as
Yeah.
well.
I would agree with that. I think this album actually, I would go beyond Bodum. I think this album has a huge Finnish influence in terms of the
Mhm.
sound. Bands like
For sure.
Norther, you know, Ensiferum,
Oh,
Bodum.
yeah.
Yes.
I can see a lot of like a lot of the melodies, a lot of the orchestrations, the way they come together on this record, and your voice really gives you a little bit of those same three bands actually, because Petri in Norther and in Ensiferum, his more screaming vocals kind of at some points almost sounds a little bit Alexi like. So
Yes.
you kind of fall in that same arena there. So I kind of feel that vibe, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think it's all like, as far as I know, it's the same technique. So that would be what similar. I noticed even like our song "Bonded to the Blade." Corey would always say in that chorus, he'd be like, "Ah, that's so in Sephirum, what you're doing."
I already recorded the review. I haven't posted yet. It's coming next week, I believe. I called that song your own version of "In My Sword I Trust."
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
That's what I called that song. Because when I heard that song, I was like, this is totally like their own take on it.
Yeah.
It's like they're "In My Sword I Trust" version of that song. That's their
For
song.
sure. Yeah,
It
yeah.
it just felt that way to me. But it's so good. It's one of my favorite songs on the album. That was not a single. That was not a single.
That was not a single, no.
Yeah,
That
one of my
genre
favorites.
of music is just like a big influence on us in general.
Yeah.
We
It's always
like
been
like
since the
that
beginning.
kind of like pagan-y sounding melodic death metal.
Yeah. Kings
Yeah.
of Asgard and
Yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
we
Yeah.
love stuff like that.
One last question for you guys, which probably will end up being a last question that turns into another last question, but it depends on your answer to it depends on your answer to this last question. So who's the best go-kart driver in the band?
Me. No?
You crashed.
Oh my goodness, I crashed so hard. I was singing and I wasn't paying attention and then just smashed into the one wall, but yeah. No, it's not me.
I'm not sure because those go-karts were so shit.
Yeah.
They were
Where
so
was that
slow.
filmed? Is
It
that in
was
Hamilton?
Yeah, it's on the beach.
Yeah.
There's like a go-kart place. It's been there since the 80s or something like that. Like, so it's, I mean, the go-karts they're from the 80s.
Yeah.
They're so bad.
Yeah.
So I've actually never been go-karting on a real go-kart. So
Really?
that would be fun.
Listen, we
But
have to make a date because I'm super competitive. Let me tell you guys, I'm like Super Mario Kart. I'll throw bananas at you guys. I'll do whatever. Like I'm super competitive to when it comes to go-karting. I love it. I absolutely love it. I'm like the Lewis Hamilton of Vaughan. So like I love that shit. So when you guys are not touring, if you guys are coming to Wonderland, hit me up. I'll meet you guys there. We'll do a video of us racing go-karts at Wonderland.
they have go-karts at
Sounds
Wonderland
good.
now?
They've had it for a long time.
I haven't been in years.
Dude, it's a nice track. Like, you know, it's not like, you know, like one of those specialized go-kart tracks that they have. I mean, but you know, it
That's
has
awesome.
helmets. You get to wear a helmet. It has a pit. Like it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I
Did we lose
froze
it? No?
there.
Okay. Yeah, you froze for a
little
second.
bit, we're like,
But
"What?"
it all went by really quick after. Yeah, it's
Oh,
good.
okay,
We
okay.
heard
Yeah,
we
I was
heard
just saying,
everything.
like-
We heard everything.
Okay, so I was just saying it's not like your top-notch Las Vegas go-kart thing, but it will suffice. It will be enough for me to beat you guys, that's for sure.
We'll see about
Probably,
that.
yeah. Definitely me.
I think
All right, we have to
the craziest part of the whole video is the fact that Chris walked into Lake Ontario.
Oh my God.
Did he
The
have
fact
any
that
did he get any skin issues afterwards? Like any
no,
rashes or anything like that?
No, I guess not, but
I
that
don't
was
know.
brave of him. He's like, this is how I want to end my part. I'm like, okay.
I don't know
Suit
how
yourself.
music came after that. Oh my goodness. And it was so funny to see because he walked in with his tracksuit on. Obviously, the people on the beach were just staring at him like, what is this guy doing? Like,
Was that one take? Was it a one
it
take?
It was
was
one take, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Who is the rest of the crew that you get? Is that your friends?
Yeah, it's all of our friends. Yeah.
Yeah,
was a
the guy in the shorts is like our best friend Mike.
He was the original bass player in Lutharo, actually.
Yeah.
oh wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he's actually in Creating a King. He's the priest in Creating a King.
He's been like every single role. He's in To Kill or to Crave, to the guy that I'm beating up in To Kill or to Crave. He's that guy too. He's played like so many roles.
Yeah,
Well, he's
Yeah.
a method actor,
that's it.
Yeah.
not a meth actor, which is probably there's Hamilton as well.
There's a lot of help.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's big in Hamilton.
So he's more of a method actor, but that's cool.
Yeah.
I appreciate the budgie smugglers, but yeah, so it's all good. It's all good. The video was great. We had fun watching it. It was a fun video, but it definitely left me with a little bit of water in my mouth because I love go-karting, and I was like, "What? We gotta do a video with these guys go-kart racing, taking
would
it
be fun.
serious and shit."
That would be
Oh
fun.
yeah, that was probably the most fun video you've ever filmed.
Yeah.
It was just that the whole day.
8 hours of just that. Yeah, it was...
Yeah.
Just leave it for next year, because next year you guys are gonna have to do a video accepting the Juno, so that's gonna be even more fun.
We'll start preparing our speech.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, I think at the very least you guys are gonna be in the nomination. I don't see it any other way.
That
Honestly,
would be
I
pretty
don't see it
awesome.
any other way. So at the very least, you're gonna be going again. I honestly think that's gonna be the case. I really feel like you guys are gonna be going against Unleash the Archers, because these are probably gonna be the two biggest records in metal coming out of Canada in 2024, unless there's another one that I'm not aware of that's coming out. But I honestly feel like these two will catch the headlines just based alone on the bands. Then you can discuss the merits of records. But I haven't heard theirs yet, but I have heard yours, and yours would get my vote.
Oh, thank you.
For whatever that it's worth, it would get my vote. Because it's a magnificent record. You guys really did a phenomenal job on this.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, guys, thank you very much for your time. Enjoy season 6 of Love is Blind once you guys are on the road.
I'll be watching it in my bunk on tour.
I won't disclose any information, but when you guys are hitting Toronto, I'll see you guys at the Toronto show, and I'll ask you what you thought about the season. We'll be able to trade some thoughts about the season by then.
Sounds good to me.
Awesome.
Take care, guys. All the best.
You too. Thank you so much.
Thank you.